I'm in Cristina Romagosa's lab, and I'm doing my PhD with her. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of my PhD research, and that I have titled Native Predators, the Protectors of a Complex and Fragile Ecosystems. And told me like, oh, why don't you present what you're doing in your PhD research? I said, okay, I will present what I'm doing. But then I started thinking, well, my PhD is not being funded by Fulbright, so I don't know. But like then I start thinking, of course, like I'm not doing my PhD with the Fulbright, but thanks to Fulbright, I'm doing what I'm doing now. So I start thinking, okay, Fulbright is not just 2 years of funding for studies. It's a path that I have taken to do my research and continue doing a researcher. So what I will be telling you today is where I come from and where I'm planning to head. So I come from Guatemala. I was born there. I grown in my parents' farm in rural Guatemala. This is me and my sister coming to play with the pigs after school. And over there I learned to take care of domestic animals, climb trees, and chase wildlife around. Then I grew up, and as Carlos was saying, I went to the National University, La Universidad San Carlos de Guatemala. This university is famous for being really involved in social movements and civil rights movements. When I was there, I got to learn about very important people like Oliverio Castañeda de León, who was killed by the government for speaking about all the social injustices that were happening. And also I became friends with Alfonso Pais, who was a professor and a congressman, and he helped to shape the code of workers, the social security hospitals, and the agricultural reforms. So he was basically the Bernie Sanders of Guatemala, but he did all of that 70 years ago, and he accomplished them. So then, after a few years of doing research in Guatemala with different NGOs and academic institutions, I won a grant, and I came to EF, and I do what all the Gators do. Science. So I did my master's, and I worked with others on how their diet are changing due to the inclusion of the armor catfish in their diet. The armor catfish is an invasive species that was introduced in Mexico and swim all the way up to Guatemala, and is original from the Amazon basin. And then I did graduated from UF in 2017. This is my friend Cool. Yeah, and he's doing his PhD also again here, so that's good. So what I do now is trophic ecology and invasive species. What is that? That's just trying to understand what all these web or food and trophic links, what are the processes that are shaping them, and what are the influence that invasive species are taking on those. So all these arrows are links between species, and top and down is predation, and side to side is competition. And why invasive species? Invasive species are important because they are one of the leading causes of freshwater fish extinctions, and one of the main threats of biodiversity in general. And they do this through different ways. One of those is competition, when they are like better of getting to the resources than the natives. And that's why we see like the pressure that the invasive is doing over the native is bigger than the opposite direction. Another way is predation. And it's just like by eating directly the natives. And this is something that is happening in here in Florida, in the Everglades. Sorry, Lindsay, the birds. And they are destroying or eating and reducing the populations of the native species. Another way is apparent competition. Apparent competition is when we see that the competitor or the apparent competitor is more successful than the native. But what's really happening is that the invasive is feeding the predators. The predators are getting populations enhanced because of that excess of food, but they prefer to feed on the natives, so they push the natives' populations down. Okay, and aquarium trade. Aquarium trade is one of the main sources of freshwater fish invasions, and it can be for releases of unwanted pets or for accidental escapes from farms. These are 3 species that are invasives here in Florida, and this is the one that I'm working with. This one is native from Guatemala. And then why predators? Predators are important because predators can control the populations of the invasives. They have been shown that in places where there was the restoration of the predators, they actually pushed down the populations of the invasive American mink in Northern Europe. Okay, so you see that this is a complex thing, but complex things are easy to imagine but hard to prove. So I'm gonna try to focus for my PhD only in this little link. That is how the diversity of predators are affecting the invasive armored catfish in northern Guatemala. How I'm gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna go to Guatemala, have nice time capturing these beauties. I'm gonna be capturing crocs, fish, and birds, washing their belly, shaking them a little bit, making them puke, and see what they're eating. Also, I'm gonna go and wait a little bit under the roots of a bird when they throw the pellets. Also chasing for latrines, for otters, and searching for the poop. Yes, I'm gonna be playing with poop and puke. And after that, I'm gonna go and see and search in different places of the river systems and see where are places with different communities of predators, and how those community of predators are affecting differently the population parameters of the armored catfish. And I'm gonna also use some covariants like land cover, water quality, and the river structure. Okay, I think I went too fast. So I want to thank Fulbright for allowing me to take this path and keep on being a researcher, and hopefully I can do something for conservation and science in Guatemala and elsewhere.
Questions, please.
Yes.
Are some of the predators also invasive?
No. I think we have a translocation that is a cichlid that is I think it's the same that you have here as invasive is the jaguar cichlid or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's native from Guatemala, but was translocated from one river to another river. But the populations in the area that I'm working is really, really low because we have the equivalent. So it's a native jaguar cichlid in that river. That is because it's native and occupies the same niche is better than the invasive. Like normally the invasives, what they happen is that they are more successful because they are occupying like an empty niche or they have some traits that makes them better than natives. But because this one is exactly the same, so probably. I was fishing there last summer and for 2 months and we only captured one. So yeah, I'm focusing on the native predators, how they're eating a low trophic level invasive.
Could you go back to that slide that shows the native and the invasive at the bottom, and
That one or the complete one?
no, the one that has the two at the bottom, and the predators at the top. And
Are you talking
I
about
guess
this one?
it's that one, and sort of explain how I didn't understand how the non-invasive species declines as a result of this.
No, this is not saying anyone is better than you see like
Okay,
all the
I guess it was
all the arrows here are the same
I guess it was
size.
in the next slide that you had the same thing at the bottom.
Oh, you're talking about the apparent competition.
This one.
This one, yeah.
The order.
Okay, this one. Yeah, so top to bottom is predation, and horizontal is competition.
Mhm.
If we were like in the previous one, like in this one, this is because like they say that these are eating periphyton. That is all these algae that grows in top of rocks and other things. If you look at the mouth of the armored catfish, is like that, and it's actually sometimes it's called a sucking rock or something, or the janitor fish, because actually cleans all the aquariums, and that's why it's very popular in aquariums, because it's like cleaning the glasses. So it does the same in the wildlife. It starts like sucking everything that is around. Meanwhile, this one they have to go blink, 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 like biting. So they are really more successful are eating the periphyton, this one. Like they stay there all the way until they finish everything. When this one comes, there's nothing to eat. So it's just like because they don't have enough food. So that's competition.
Mhm.
But then when we are talking about apparent competition, it's like, what if we are just looking for the populations of these two? We will say like, oh yeah, they're competing because this one is more abundant and there's no food, and this one is less abundant. And we say, oh, well, it's competition. But what is really happening, and that's where is the dashed line, because it is apparently is competition, but what's happening is because this one is overabundant, is feeding the predators. The predators will enhance their populations because there's enough food. But they eat it because it's there, but it's not the favorite food. So when they see the favorite food, they throw the ugly one, and go for the one that they like. So like if you have something like that's just raw vegetable, then you see this big meat, you say, oh, I'm going for the meat, right? Unless you're vegetarian. And so that's what they do. Like they have higher populations, and they start feeding on the ones that they like, and pushing those populations down. Also, this is very important in Guatemala, and this is another approach that I will probably explore later on. I'm still discussing this with my advisor, because the natives are also the preferred fish that the fisher persons get. They don't like these ones. They just throw this one back or kill them and throw them there to be rotten. Meanwhile, they're after these ones. So this one has double pressure. So that's why when I was showing this, I was like, if these ones go down, people is sad. Because they don't have food, they don't have, or they don't have a resource to sell. So that's the problem. And also, when people see, like, imagine that you have a bunch of crocs in your river. People get sad also, like they get scared. And they can start thinking like, oh, it's because of those, they are killing my fish. And they're like, there's also some pressure to the predators. Meanwhile, these can be the ones that are controlling this one. And they hate both of these. You see, like when these ones increase, people also get sad. So this is a really complicated system when you include humans.